Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round number 2 of the virtual Le Mans Championship. We are here at the Nurburgring. What a legendary venue this is. Has seen races all over the years. History dating back to 1920s. That is an amazing amount of time. And tonight we will add to that wonderful legacy of racing with, as I said, round number 2 of the virtual Le Mans Cup. To those who are familiar with the series, you know the drill, you know what we are witnessing. For those who are not, let me run a quick introduction to what this is all about. So, shorter races compared to the Virtual Endurance Championship, LMP3 cars and GT3 cars as well. A lot of drivers, a lot of teams, a lot of people searching for those victories. Round number 1 was raced at the Sepang circuit at Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. It was quite a spectacle to behold. Rainy conditions partially, and a lot of incidents, a lot of drama was seen, as is usual in racing, but also a lot of expert driving as well. And as a result of that, when I look to the standings, you can see that in the LMP3 class, you have the Team Rookie Monsters car in the lead, followed by Speedmite Racing, followed by the 2 Scuderia Leone entries. And as for the GT3 class, you got Wave Freedom Esports, followed by the 2 Chanshow entries. Then it's Seawolf Net Race Motorsport and Push Rod Racing. Not much point going about the point standings and stuff so far. It has been just one race, so you look at the results of the first race and you can pretty much see what has happened in terms of the point standings, as well as we see the cars already taking some rather pedestrian strolls through the Nürburgring circuit.
Yes, just a couple of pedestrian strolls, but yes, the Nürburgring GP circuit we're at, and quite a few passing opportunities. I would at least say 3, perhaps a few more if you're brave. Certainly turn 1, certainly the Dunlop hairpin, and certainly the chicane coming up the backstraight. And those 3, I think, are the main passing opportunities. Obviously, there are more overtaking opportunities in the arena and coming up to some of the S's, but you might need to be a little bit more brave and have a little bit more cooperation if you're going to make a pass there.
Yeah, you will. You absolutely will. It's quite a modern circuit compared to the older one, the longer one, and there's not too many passing opportunities to find that are too easy to slam dunk. Even turn 1 isn't quite a slam dunk. Let's just quickly run you through top 5 in each class. So, Neil, you wanna take GT3? I'll take the LMP3.
Yes.
So, we got the number 39 Caspian Motorsport with Eldem Akiol behind the wheel on the lead of on the pole of the LMP3 class, with the number 10 Speedmite Racing driven by Lazaros Filippakos. Number 33 Team Rookie Monsters entry with Timotej Andonovski on the 3rd place, with number 29 Energy Racing Lorenzo Caponi behind the wheel of that one on the 4th place, and in the 5th place number 14 Drive Game Seat Racing with Alessandro Specchio behind the wheel.
And in terms of the GT3s, it's number 65 Busters E Racing of Gianluca Di Matteo on pole, in the 87 Wave 3 Esports of Lorenzo Arisi, number 62 Zansho of Felix Antoine Fortin, the number 90 Sakura Racing of Nikolai Maliki, and then in 5th place is the number 76 One Move Esports of Matteo Ducro.
Wonderful. A wonderful grid and a lot of wonderful drivers here. Let's see if they can put on a wonderful race as well. In case you're wondering, we got right now on the classified on the live timing, we got 41 entries here. I believe it shows 42 on the track graphics, and also not long until we are underway with the leading LMP3s, and here we
Yes.
go.
LMP3s making their way down to turn 1 for the first time in this 2-hour race. Of course, you'll see them a little bit more spread out because they get the green flag when they reach the start-finish line. It isn't a mass green flag, if you will. And it looks like so far for all the LMP3s it has been a fairly clean start as the GT3s get underway now on the front straight, making their way down towards turn 1.
Yeah, a bit naughty start from the GT3 field. You can see there that the you had a little bit of an issue for Daniel De Fini, I believe, in one of the Chainsaw cars. Yeah, you had a bit of bunched up start and a couple of drivers falling back and forth, but otherwise it seems quite clean so far. Everyone taking their time, taking their respect in turn number 1, which is exactly what you would like to see here. Running up close together, bunched up, and will be bunched up at least until the LMP3s come around for the first time, which is actually going to be a little bit of a while, should I say.
It's going to be a few minutes before that happens, a few laps before that happens, let's put it that way, but that GT3 front field still very, very close together as they're making the way up the Schumacher S, that's the first one, yes it is, before making the way to the second S on the run back up the hill. And it's still the number 87 in the lead, sorry, it's the Wave 3 Me Sports in the lead now. Then 62 Zansho and the number 65 Busters E-Racing cars moves down into third in the opening few corners of the race of the GT3 class. They're making their way out onto the back straight. Perhaps a very good opportunity on the back straight for slipstreaming your rivals and making your way past when you come up to the chicane.
Yeah, the back straight is an excellent passing opportunity. You have to be careful in the chicane, but you kind of have to commit yourself up to the inside. Oh, Capone's making a move. Oh, couldn't quite get it. Couldn't quite get it. Very brave stuff from Lorenzo Capone there against Timotej Andonovski. As we are right now following the GT3 class again. Number 90, Mikolai Maliki. And Maliki actually trying to make a move going into turn number 1 here. Oh, bit of contact there. Bit of contact was there, as you saw in the pictures, ladies and gentlemen, against Gianluca Di Matteo. Di Matteo not happy about that at all. Yep. Will be looking to get that position back.
Yes, contact at turn 1 is something that really shouldn't be that surprising because it's the biggest braking zone on the entire circuit and it's an incredibly slow corner, which means, you know, it's very easy to make a move up the inside and also fairly easy to misjudge it.
Yeah, it's very easy to misjudge those corners. I mean, they're so slow and there is so little grip. What people don't know about Nurburgring is that there is very little grip on the GP section. You notice that when you run the combined circuit is that when you get to the Nordschleife, there is so much grip suddenly. So it's very easy to get those corners wrong, very easy to get the timings wrong, and you think that you can, oh, I can squeeze in 5, maybe 10 meters from braking zone of the slow corners. No, you can't. No, you can't. You're gonna ask for so much trouble if you do that.
Yeah, the thing is, because, you know, it is such a large braking zone, if you miss your brake pedal by about half a second, you're certainly going to miss that apex by more than half a second.
Yeah, you are. What's the rule? Double the speed, you have to quadruple yes. The braking. So, we will at some point come to this wonderful thing called pit stops. Now we are expecting the GT3 cars to run about an even hour and the LMP3 cars to run around 1 hour and 10 minutes, with the LMP3s taking tires in all likelihood and the GT3s maybe not. Let's see who doubles these tires and who will opt for the tires here in this circuit. Now I will say this. Nurburgring is one of those circuits where you absolutely positively will want to take tires. I don't think there's too many people as we just saw David Yunt running a little bit wide earlier on. I don't think there's too many people who will opt to not take tires, but we will see. I have been wrong before, and I will be wrong in the future as well. So we have to see, but I can't imagine many people enjoying running on used tires on the second stint. Especially not with a full load of fuel. That's absolute torture.
And especially when your rivals behind you might have taken those fresh tires as well. You do save quite a bit of time in the pits by not taking tires, but the main problem is pace disadvantage that you'll have for the second half of this race. And with the LMP3s being able to do about 70 minutes on a tank of fuel, that gives them a little bit more strategy game, if you like, in the middle 20 minutes of this race, because they can decide to come in early and fill it up completely to the end, or they can leave their stop as late as possible and have a shorter pit stop.
Yeah, that is one of those things you can also do, and that means we will have quite a funny time, quite a fancy time, and also, at least momentarily, I will promise you, we will have a confusing time looking at all those pit stops, who took tires, who didn't take tires. Oh my god, why is the car who was in the 14th place suddenly in the 5th place? Oh, he didn't take tires. But that always makes for such an interesting race. But that's all to come for later on. Right now we are just focusing on these battles that are still going on early on and trying to find out a little bit about lap times as well.
We've lost the number 76 one-move car, Matteo de Krop, the one that qualified in the 5th position in the GT3 class.
Oh, that's not good.
Has headed back to the pits.
That's not good, Matteo de Krop. He was on good pace before that, so I wonder what happened. If it was a problem with... engine gun. Oh, we see. Hearing
that's just a slight problem, it's fine.
Ah, it's fine, you can do...
You don't really need an engine, do you?
No, you just punch a hole through the floor and run, basically.
And run, yeah, Flintstone style. That's exactly how you do it.
You know, I was looking so hard in my head to try and find what was the name of Flintstones. Because, of course, I've seen it in Finnish growing up, so... But yeah. I'm looking just tentatively, gradually at some lap times here early on. Those who know endurance racing know that it will not matter so much at this stage, but there is a clear difference right now between the top 3 in the LMP3 class and the rest of the field. Yeah. So, Ertem Akiol in the leading number 39 Caspian Motorsport car doing 150.3, Speedymite following with a 150.3, and Team Rookie Monsters with a 150.4. Then it's 151.2, back to 150.6, and then it's all 51s and 52s.
Yeah.
So
it appears that that leading set of cars certainly much faster than the other LMP3s as it stands. In the GT3s, it's very much the same question. The front 4 have kind of broken away from the rest of the pack.
Yeah, they are. Wave Frame Esports, Lorenzo Aresi doing 55.6. Sancho with Felix Antoine 14 doing 55.6 as well, as is Checo Racing's Mikolai Malichki 55.7 for him. Just barely but a 7 as well. Should be noted that also Caspian Motorsport doing 56.5 last time around. Otherwise, it's been, well, just as I said, and now that they come around again, seems that there were a couple of battles, again, a lot more drivers doing 56s, but nobody else touching those 55s that the leaders are doing.
You're just touching those 55s, as you're saying, and you know, getting toward, it's always, you know, a little bit of a goal, you say yourself, as to what times you can do. If you consistently do 55s, well, you're certainly in the top set. It's the fastest cars on the track at the moment in the GT3 class, and they'll be able to look at the live timing and see what laps they're doing and give them just, you know, just a goal to aim for.
Yeah, just some idea. Of course, in the race you can, I mean, it's when people say that you see in racing movies, you see people saying, oh, you just gotta drive faster, you know, you have to try harder. No, you can't. You can't try harder in the middle of the race. If you haven't found the pace in practice, then you haven't found the you cannot find the pace in race as well. You can maybe find some consistency, maybe try and find some improvements, but overall you can't really improve that top lap time, nor you should try to in the race conditions. As still no change for the lead. It's Luca Mello with number 33 in the lead of the LMP3 class. Freedom Akil in the Erdem Akil, rather. I don't know why I read it as an F in the second place, and Lazaros Filipakos in the third place. But maybe not for long if I'm looking at how close Timotei Andonovsky is to him right now.
And Lazarus Filipakos, of course, races with a controller, because why not?
Oh, what?
Yeah, he races with a controller.
How?
He's the resident controller boy.
Oh dear. I knew someone who did Richard Burns Rally with a keyboard competitively. But that's on another level. Like, with Rally you can sorta kinda get away with it. It's not easy, but I mean, you have a little bit more margin for error in terms of slip angles and inputs, and sometimes inputs are kinda way out there anyway. So if you adjust everything right, then yeah, but with a controller up here, wow, that's quite something.
Yes, I think he does actually have a G27 in his flat. He just doesn't use it.
I mean,
because he's faster with the controller.
I suppose whatever floats your boat. I'm not one to judge, and all those other related topics. It's so difficult. I can imagine so difficult when we enter the era as we see battle for P number 8 in the LMP3 class on your screens.
It's David Junte, Jellibinsbergen, and Daniel Smeriglio. As Jellibinsbergen, the number 38 Speedy Mike Racing cars, lost both of those positions at the same time.
Yeah, running a little bit wide at the fourth corner.
Battling in the battle for, I should say rather, and is now back down in 9th place.
Yeah, running a little bit wide on the fourth curve, you can easily run a little bit wider,
Yes.
just going a little bit too fast, because people often discount that particular corner, the left-hander, and just concentrate for the hairpin, or the other way around, they try to go too hot for the first bit and not account for the second bit. And that is one of the few corners in Nurburgring where you can't really just concentrate on the one corner, but rather have to concentrate on the entire complex of both of the corners. You have to sacrifice a little bit from the one to make the other work around, and you have to kind of think about the flow and think about how you want to approach that corner. Some people want to ride in there fast and take a really sharp line to the next corner, and some people want to sacrifice a lot of speed, brake in early, and probably place themselves vulnerable for an attack into that first bit in order to get a proper line for the second one. So it's a driver preference and also a setup thing.
Yeah, trying to set up, because it's one of these corners. There's actually quite a few corners here in the Nurburgring where one corner flows into the next one. Obviously, the 3 sets of S's do that as well. And they're all fairly important because there are sizable straights after each of them, with sizable braking zones at the end of those straights as well. So these flowing corners of the Nürburgring GP circuit really are important and are integral to have a good lap time and set up any passes that you wish to make.
Speaking of passes, Nikolai Malichki versus Gianluca Matteo, and Matteo, making his way through against Matichki, and we got another driver in the mix there as well. So that's gonna be very, very interesting indeed, and he is of course Mehmet Oskar Bayrak, who is in that battle as well in the red car. And now this is going to be quite interesting. Mind you, this is for P number 3 in the GT3 class.
P3 in the GT3 class indeed, and it's basically 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is a train of cars with everyone at this point, almost all the way back down to 10th or 11th or so, all battling for that third place position. Gianculo Di Matteo still holding on roughly by about 1.1 seconds in that number 90 Sakura racing car. The number 65 Buster's e-racing car. I can't read live timing properly.
No, it's okay. Happens to each and every one of us at some point. You have the live timing up on your screen, and then you read it, and then you say something completely different, and then you just wonder, why did I just say that?
Yep, I have
It's
that feeling often.
yeah, and if you look at Mehmet's pace right now, you can see that he's done 56.8 last time around with a 56.1 as his fastest lap. Now, that is not quite the pace of the cars in front, but because they have been battling, because Buster C Racing and Sakura Racing were battling, that means that he has really managed to catch up to those guys. But now you can see, as the battle is over and as they return to normal racing formation, then you can see that he's once again they are rather starting to once again lose ground at P number 3. So it seems right now that there is an issue, and that issue is the number 33 car and his pace.
As the number 67 Zancho car comes into the pits, because of course Daniel T. Finney driving that one at the moment has that was a driving penalty for something that happened last time out at Sepang. So he's taking his penalty now as late as possible, because once the penalties have been assigned, you get 5 laps to take them. Suddenly the Zancho car is waited until the last possible opportunity to take their penalty, and that will relegate them all the way down to let's have a look at where they came out. Finney's came out in 14th place in class.
Yeah, he has, so that's not ideal. Not what you want, but that's what you do when you've been have to do when you've been a naughty boy, and Jimmy has to punish you.
Yeah, it's Sean that has to punish you in this one rather than
but I'm so used to Jimmy punishing.
The dark overlord, Jimmy.
Yeah.
As
wearing his scepter and a cape.
As the LMP3 leaders are starting to make their way through the back markers in the GT3 class, coming down towards the Dunlop hairpin for the 11th time this race for the LMP3s.
Oh, and we do have a disconnection as well. That is a shame. But that has big implications, not only for the race but for the championship as well.
Yes, for the race, as it appears that Lazarus Philippakis in that Speedymite car has disconnected from the race. That hands at least Alessandro Specchio on the number 14 Drive Game Seat Racing car that 3rd place position, and then all the way down to 7th. Actually, there's 5 cars currently battling for that 3rd place.
Yeah, there are. We also saw briefly a battle for the 11th place, and now the 12th place in the LMP3 class as well. Ruben Correa Alves coming very much under attack right there, and we are right now seeing Luca Berg making an overtake. That is a very nice move indeed. A difficult corner to pass into, because you wanna go into, that's basically one line corner. You can go too wide through there, but it's very difficult compromising both of their exits. Let's see if Ruben can make a move heading into the chicane. No, he can't, and that means that he will settle for P number 13 for now.
13 for now, but of course that is just for now. That can easily change in the future. But yes, on that track map, those LMP3 cars trying to fight their way. Well, at least the leading couple of cars have made their way through the very back markers of the GT3 class. The problem is, when they look ahead, there's a couple of big bunches of GT3 cars, and of course they've got to remember that not only are they racing for themselves, the LMP3 cars, but they're also trying to pass people who are having their own race and are still very close in their own race, separated by maybe only tenths of a second.
Yeah, you have to really keep that in mind, whether you are the passing class or indeed the class being passed. You have to make sure you are clever, especially when letting people pass. Now, people usually think that, okay, they are just gonna come by and make their own move, and that is what's usually advised, as we see Alexander Jones getting all sorts of tricky here in the Schumacher S. Yeah, but you can also be clever about it. You can just lift a little bit before the braking zone, make sure the passing car has a good line going into the braking zone. Let the LMP3 car for the outside, why not? Lift just a little
Yes.
bit, hairspread, and just coast behind him, so you can tuck behind him on the corner entry. And you don't basically lose anything. You lose maybe, what, tenth of a second? 1.5 tenths of a second. How much do you lose again if you run a corner side by side with an GT3 and an LMP3 car? You lose more than 1 or 2 tenths.
A
You lose
hilarious
half a
amount of
second.
time, yes.
Yeah. So you have to be really clever about it. I've been in a situation where I've been both in a prototype and in a GT car, and it's a whole different ballpark. But you start to notice who are the easy guys in each of the classes and who are the hard guys. You know, some prototype drivers, you have the dilemma of GT drivers always complaining about dive bombing prototypes, and prototypes always complaining about GT3s not giving space. It will be like that. It's one of the laws of the universe. Honestly, water is wet, sun is hot, and multi-class drivers will complain about the other class. That's just the way it goes. But you can make it easier with your own actions.
Well, you can. Do you want to? That's a different question.
Oh yeah, but I don't wanna. We are seeing also some lapped action actually here on the screen. Alexander Jones,
Yes.
David Yund as well, making their way through some GT3 traffic. Now, mind you, it should be probably good to remind at this point that the lap time difference between those classes ain't that huge. Last lap for the leading LMP3 car, and indeed the overall leader, was 153.2, and the GT3 leader did 156.6, with the fastest GT3 lap time actually being a 56.2. So if my maths are correct, and they often are shady, then that's about 3 seconds a lap. Now, mind you,
Yeah.
that may sound like a proper margin, but it really isn't when you extend it over 5 kilometers of tarmac and a lot of corners. You are maybe 10 or 2 faster than the other class in that corner, so you really have to get creative in making those passes.
Luca D'Amelio is just making his way down the start finish straight through the arena section. He's got a few GT cars to himself, and Erdem Akil in that number 39 Caspian Motorsport car. And as you were saying before, you know, a single line, there are a few places on this circuit which are only one racing line. That can be incredibly advantageous for a leading LMP3 car if they can get ahead of the GT for those sections, and then their rivals are stuck behind them.
Yeah, traffic gives, traffic take it away. Although one thing, again, I know I sound like Yoda, basically. I should start talking like a Yoda, so learn Swedish, basically. But the thing is that you can't win time in traffic. You just can't. It's a fallacy. You can lose time in traffic, but your target, your objective should be to try and lose as little time as possible in traffic. You can't win time in traffic. And that's what people often think, and that leads them to taking risks with traffic, to adapt the much hated, much criticized for good reasons approach of all take and no give. If you're all take and no give in traffic, you're gonna find yourself in a bad end of an accident really soon. If you're fortunate, you're gonna maybe make it to the end of the race, but you're certainly not earning yourself any favors from your fellow drivers. And remember, this is race 2 of this season. There's a lot of racing yet to go, and you don't want to get yourself in anyone's bad books this early on in the season. Mind you, you got the season that extends all the way down to Le Mans, to the April.
Yes.
You got 7 races, which 6 of them still to go, including this one.
Yeah, 7 races, but you know, you say it's a long way to go. Really, when you've only got 7 races in the championship, there's very little room for error in terms of no scoring if you want to have a shot at that championship at the end of the season, because you may get one dropped score from, well, may get one no score, I should say, rather, from yourself and from your rivals. But if you get to a second no score, that's where you really start to falter in terms of championship opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, you can live with one. It's not ideal, but you can live with one. With two, that's pretty much your hopes and dreams over. And the thing is, even after one no score, and especially if it's due to a mechanical failure, a disconnect, or something of that nature, it can really, really eat out the mental strength of the team, the motivation, all that sort of thing, which is usually overlooked, but still almost as important as raw pace and talent, because you got to be motivated to grind, to get that practice on, to survive through the hard times. I know it sounds like a hyped up thing, but it really is that way. You have to have a good team, you have to have good teammates. Oh, that are signed in for the task. Luca Berg taking a little bit of violence there in the traffic, perhaps going for... well, actually, I won't judge that, you know. Going for a little bit of a disappearing gap, perhaps. GD3 could have maybe seen him coming and taking a little bit of a bump to the side, but fortunately it looks like a little harm, little foul in that one. Could have been so much worse, Neil.
That's fine, rubbing is racing. Fine. No, obviously, all drivers want to keep contact to a minimum when racing, because obviously that can create little bits of aero damage. That aero damage, if it's in a particularly important place on the car, that can wreak havoc with the aerodynamics of the rest of the car, and suddenly you could get snap oversteer, or, according to some drivers, what is worst, chronic understeer.
Yeah, meanwhile we saw Nick Newcomb making a little bit of a mistake there in the final chicane, and that leads to Luca Berg having a fine overtaking opportunity heading into turn number 1, and will be able to make a move stick. So Nick Newcomb being wise there not to try and force it too wide in that first corner. He knows that that inside car will always run a little bit wide on the apex, and even though it is the responsibility of the car inside to hold his line, it is usually better to keep your car in check rather than try to, you know, make a point about the rules of racing. So Nick Newcomb being very smart there, knowing this is a long race and this is an experienced driver. He knows that you still got 1 hour 33 minutes on the clock. You are in no rush to make a move, as we saw a spun GD3 car there. Meanwhile, in the background, as Luca Berg made his way through that one. So Luca Berg and a lot of other drivers involved in quite a heavy battle here, and that extends all the way to P number 10.
All the way down to P number 10, lots and lots of action happening here at Nurburgring in the first 27 minutes of the race. Yeah, that's 27 minutes, I can count.
Congratulations!
I know, I'm surprised myself. As I believe that was David Yunt just getting passed by Daniele Smeriglio, the number 7 Wayframe Esports car, for 6th place in the LMP3s, and 6th place overall, as Nick Newcomb, Yali Binsbergen and Ruben Correa Alves, the 3 of them covered by only about 6/10 of a second.
Yeah, and Gianluca Matteo and Felix Antoine 14 having a wonderful, wonderful battle here for P number 2 in the GD3 class. So GD3 class not only being a victim of overtakes by LMP3s, but also having a battle of their own, and that is usually the cream of the crop in any multi-class race, are the GD battles. The GD battles always wonderful to follow, always tight, always close, and you just think that those guys must have a screw loose or something going in battling like that in such a long race, but no. And we see here Felix Antoine 14 trying to make his way through, but so far with very little luck, and you can just see how as soon as Gianluca Di Matteo made his way through in that Buster's e-racing car, he was just gone. He's absolutely gone, and 14 half a second slower in that last time by, so maybe not finding himself in too fortunate of a situation here, but the good thing is that he will have some time to rest and recover here. He is still having a bit of a cushion, at least, to the car behind, so who knows.
Yeah, who knows indeed. Always having a little bit of cushion is helpful because it allows you to focus on what's in front rather than what is behind your car, and that's always helpful when you're not mirror driving, as I believe Rob Timpin has came into the pits in number 46 Seawolf Net Race car.
And
Which is
meanwhile,
interesting because there's 90 minutes to go, and that's too long for a single tank.
yeah, that is. I just have to think there's an issue as Nick Newcomb is making a move here on Ruben Correa Alves, who had to already give away one position. Nick Newcomb being a very brave man, trying to run the outside of the final chicane, being a brave man but not a fool. Trying to stick that one, and it doesn't work. Going again to the final turn, Nick Newcomb really smelling blood in the water. He's like a shark when it comes to that. Racing drivers can have that little bit of shark blood in them. Not necessarily tiger blood, but shark blood. In any case, again trying to go into turn number 1. Let's see if he can make it stick this time round. I think yes, he can. Oop, I take it back. Not quite yet. Wonderful side-by-side racing here. Can be a little bit frustrating for Nick Newcomb right now, just trying to make this move, especially as he can see how fast those cars are disappearing. Right now, under attack, and oh no! Oh, oof. No, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that, Jelle Binsbergen. You don't want to do that. That's not a good move.
No.
I mean,
tend to agree, yes.
Credit to him. He tried to maybe catch Nick Newcomb a little bit by surprise, going down to the inside, but you want to stick to the apex, and you want to make sure that even if you catch the other guy by surprise, he at least has a chance to get some idea that you are there, that you just don't barge into a gap that will disappear in a moment's time, because once two objects occupy the same space at the same time, guess what? They will collide.
Yes, and yes.
Physics 101.
Physics 101.
Also, Danilos Mergilio trying to make a move on Alexander Jones here and getting through on the final corner, getting a little bit archy-barchy here in the LMP3 classes. David Chund as well, making good use of the battle in front and saying, you know what, I'll have some of that. Yes, please. I'll gladly get myself up into the 7th place. And suddenly you realize that there is a bit of an issue because you just lost 2 positions in very much 2 corners. So Alexander Jones is going to be like, oh well, that's not ideal. I'm gonna want some of that back at certain point in time. Also a close battle for P number 4 in the GT3 class. Again we see Mehmet Özgür Beyrak just trying hard to catch the car in front of Nikolai Malichki.
The top 5 in the LMP3 classes: Luca D'Amelio, Erdem Akio, Timotei Andonovski, Alessandro Specchio, and Lorenzo Capone. And in the GT3s, it's Lorenzo Arisi, Gianluca Damaccio, Felix Antoine Fortin, Nikolai Malicki, and Mehmet Özgür Bayrak. As I'm just having a look, Daniel De Finney's managed to make his way back up to 11th place after coming back out in 14th after his drive-through penalty.
Yeah, it's really crazy to see such a nice guy as David Finney is to take drive-through penalty, or have to at least serve a drive-through penalty. I mean, it's racing can really transform people. That is one of the wonderful things about racing. How you see a driver in the car, and then you see a driver outside of the car, and you can't help but wonder, is that really the same guy? You meet the guy on track and you think, oh, he must be such a this and this. And you meet him, and nicest guy in the world. An absolute gem of a human being. And can also work vice versa, who knows. But, you know, it's wonderful to see people in and out of the car. And to see people, you know, drive against each other on the track and then remain friends after. Because that's what it's all about. In the end, we are here for competition. We are here for excellent pastime, but everyone also wants to be here. They want to compete, and competition, lads, involves other drivers. And as much as competitive this environment is, that's not English, but okay. As competitive as this environment is, it's better to get along with other drivers than it is not.
Yes, completely.
Just a lesson for the kids out there who think about competing in one of these series. Of course, if you want to, head to SimRacing.Club for more information.
Yes, SimRacing.Club, and you'll have to pass the academy first in order to be a licensed driver, so you can take part in the VLMC or the VEC, and that academy is, I can't quite remember when the next running of that academy is. You can find it
It's
on
soon.
SimRacing.Club. Yeah, it's soon.
So just imagine you have to pass the academy. First of all, you have to pass the first stage, which is making it into the sim racing proper in first place. You know, making it out
Yes.
of the so-called arcade titles into sim racing proper, and to make the jump into proper physics, into proper environment, into committing yourself to try and learn the craft of racing and learn the craft of setup and all the things that involve with it, the circuits, the cars, and etc. And then you have to make the academy in order to join the VLMC or indeed the VEC. And you want to be at a team at that point. Uh, at least after passing the academy, you want to be at some sort of a team. You want to find yourself some teammates to progress with, to work with, for them to give you pointers if you're a new driver. Most likely you already have some experience from some leagues, and you want to be at the absolute top of the echelon. And then you come here, and you pass the academy, and which is no easy task, by the way, but you have to pass the academy. And then you go through the divisions. In the case of VEC, you have to go through, or in the VLMC, you have to go through Division 3, Division 2, and then finally you get into Division 1. And this is what these guys are doing. And even here, you're gonna see a gaps of about 2 seconds from the fastest of each class to the slowest of each class. So you still have a mountain to climb. And that is what racing is all about. It's all about challenging yourself constantly, trying to beat yourself, to beat not to beat your opponents, but most importantly to beat yourself, to challenge yourself each and every race, each and every practice session, and really just find new ways to improve upon your craft. And only then can you think about, once you know yourself, then you can think about trying to beat others in the track, trying to, you know, really go for the fight and go for the battle. And that's just learning the basics of it. There is a whole another book or two to be written about racecraft and multi-class tactics and all that sort of thing. So to see these drivers, to watch these drivers, you have to remember that they have walked through brimstone and firestone and whips and the cold and the hot to just to get in this series, to just to get into these screens, to display and showcase their talent here. And that really puts an underline and a bold and an italic, why not, on the talents of these top drivers.
Yeah, it does look very, very good on all of them, especially when you get to these, well, the LP3s, for example. You know, there's no marked differences. It's all a spec series almost. So you know the driver quality really does start to show in these spec classes, and the LMP2 class, for example, in the VEC, because there are no differences. You can't quite hide behind, we didn't perform well at this track because, you know, the car that we chose isn't good for this track. You know, like you can in the GT3s and the GTEs, for example. You just say, we'll be better at the next track, and you may have a semi-valid excuse at that point. But for the LMP3s and the LMP2s and the hypercars, at least, you know, that's really where you get to see who the cream of the crop are in terms of pure driver skill.
With that said, you severely underestimate the ability for racing drivers to find excuses.
Because always finding excuses. It's fine. They're always finding an excuse somewhere.
And that is the thing. You build up a sort of an ego, a mental shield through all the practice, to all the time, to all the times that you have beaten opponents in order to even make it into this series. You have beaten opponents, you have countless victories, you have those achievements, you consider yourself at least a good driver. And when you lose to another driver, a cat can lose to a dog, but cat can't lose to a cat. You can't lose to another driver, so, you know, at least not someone you consider to be on your ability, because that is, as we see Felix on 114, I will continue about that soon, trying to make a move. Unfortunately, an LMP treater, so not finding the space, but a very close battle. As I said, you consider the other drivers in tiers, so to speak. You know that there are some drivers who are better than you. You must be a realist. You know that there are drivers who are worse than you, and you know that there are drivers that are roughly equal to you. And the guys you don't want to lose to are the last two groups. You can lose to someone who is better than you, a legend of the sport or someone. You don't want to, but you think it's okay, it's fine, he's better than me anyway at this point in time. You don't want to get lost in that mindset that he will forever be better than me. That's the worst thing you can do. But you must be a realist. But if you lose to someone you consider worse than you, then you can't just take it on the chin. You can't just say, oh, he was better than me, I was worse than him. You must find an excuse. That's where the excuses come in. Oh, we had a bad setup, we couldn't get it adjusted to the conditions, or we had a little bit of damage in the cars and no, you couldn't see it. Or that's my favorite one, by the way. We had floor damage. Because the thing
floor
with
damage, of course, it's a very, very useful excuse, that one, isn't it?
Yeah, because you can't see it. You can't see it and you can pick it up from anywhere. Yeah, we picked it up from that curb in the final chicane. We've had a little bit of floor damage, half a second slower per lap. Lost top speed, couldn't do anything. And then meanwhile you look at top speeds, you're like, dude, car was fine. You were just being a bit... mate.
Yes. Is back out on track. Because Melio is still leading the race by 3 seconds over Erdemacchio. And they've managed to pull a 14 second gap, make that, over the Team Rookie Monsters car, Timotei Admirovski, who in turn has a 12 second gap over Alessandro Specchio of the Drive game seat number 14.
Yeah, really impressive pace from all the top 3 in that class, but Caspian Motorsport, Erdemacchio, absolutely wonderful driving from him so far. Luca Di Amelio, of course, in the lead, and Erdemacchio in the second place. And that's just such a wonderful pace from those guys. And they will have to come to the pit at some point, but not quite yet. Meanwhile, in the GT3, you got Lorenzo Arisi in the lead, Gianluca Di Matteo in the second place, and Felix Anton Fortin in the third place. So those guys have been quite close to each other all race long. With that said, it must be pointed out that Buster C Racing has fallen 5.7 seconds behind of the Wave 3 Me Sports in the lead right now. But P2 and P3 very close to each other, as are P4, P5, P6, and even P7. So you got still close battles going on with 1 hour remaining in this race, 1 hour and 17 minutes remaining. And this is what I like. You got the storyline starting to develop here in this race. You got the infernal battle for P number 4 in the GT3 class. And you got the struggle of trying to find that overtake. Of Mehmet Özgür Bayrak trying to find a way past Nikolai Malichki, because he's been trying for how long? Half an hour now? To try and find a single overtake.
Certainly.
So it's a question of can he do it during the pit stops? Has he saved enough fuel, potentially running behind under the car to maybe do it in the pit stops? Is he trying a different tire strategy? You must remember that that is a thing also that they must consider. Right now the teammates are, and the crew chiefs are asking these drivers how are the tires feeling. And you can't just, be like, oh, the tires are gone, Bono. No, you can't say that. You must be honest with yourself. If there's a possibility to maybe make it without changing the tires, then you absolutely will take it and run. The thing is that right now the car might feel okay even with used tires, because you are light on fuel, you are used to the pace, but once you come to the pit lane, you add 100 kilos of racing fuel or whatever into that car, and then it will be a whole different beast. And there is nothing worse than the first lap after getting out of the pit lane with old tires, with a full tank of fuel, and just trying to make it through those corners, and you are feeling so slow. Honestly, you feel like a snail stuck in a tar. It's just, I can't make it, this is incredibly difficult. And then can hear the tires being cold and old and tortured, and the grip will never come, and you just, oh no. But then you have to just find your pace, find your rhythm, and most importantly, remember that the solace is in the fact that this is a very difficult track to overtake in. So even if the guy behind you on new tires, on brand new set of boots, is faster than you, you must remember that catching up is one thing, passing, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yes, and if you just position your car in the correct place all the way around the circuit, you can make it incredibly, incredibly hard for your rivals to even try and pass you. Because if you just, if you just park your car, park the bus if you like, occasionally, you can make it incredibly, incredibly difficult for your rivals to pass you. And, that art of defending is something that you need to perfect if you want to become a very good sim racer.
And then you also must, adding to that, that's a very, very, very good point, Neil. Parking the bus, I know what parking the bus is. I've been following the Finnish football team for whole of my life, pretty much. But I still remember the Christmas tree tactics. But yeah, trying to defend is one thing, and defending is one thing. Then you get into the shady defending, which is what you don't want to see. Blocking, the difference between holding a defensive line and blocking. People always think it's a bit of a, line in the sand, that you think it's a shady line. It's not a shady line. If you make them move after the car behind, then you are blocking. It's simple as that. That's a good rule of the thumb. But yeah, it's very, very, very much good defending so far from what I've seen here on display. And Mehmet really, really, really aggressive right now with his overtaking attempts, and no wonder, because he's got Christian Pallesen right now behind him. He's got Christian right behind him, and Christian is looking to try and make a move on Mehmet, and trying to see if, okay, if he can't make it through, then maybe I will make a move. And right now Mehmet is finding himself in a very precarious position, because he can't just attack. He can't necessarily sacrifice a corner to get around in a straight line, because he right now has a car behind him. So he knows that one failed move, one mistake, one maybe laxlacious overtaking attempt, difficult overtaking attempt, maybe, losing his focus for a split second, and he will be overtaken instead. And then he will be down to P6, and that's the last thing that you want. So he has to be still focused on the car ahead, but also conscious of the fact that he has a car behind. Even though I find it quite interesting that Christian chooses, that explains it. So he had an LMP3 car behind him. I was about to say I find it interesting that he chose not to move to the draft here on the straight line, but that explains it.
Yeah, interesting deciding not to move the draft, but again, as you were saying, we're moving towards the midway point of this race, an hour and 12 minutes to go. So these drivers will be thinking about pit stop phases soon, and perhaps because they're getting quite close to the pit stop, deciding that it's not actually worth fighting on track just now. Just hope they can jump them in the pit stops, or at least refocus on that battle after the pit stop phase.
Yeah, at some point you must, think that, okay, no point battling all the time. But his aggression, you see the aggression here on display, you see the pure want to make it past. I'm thinking he's changing tires, because otherwise, if he wasn't changing tires, he can't be just shadowboxing all this time and, try to fool them into the fact that they're not changing tires, fool them to think rather that they are changing tires when they're not. I think he is committed to the strategy. He's thinking that, okay, we can't make the no tire change, single set of tire strategy work. Otherwise, he wouldn't want to pass so hard. Because otherwise, it would be clever for him to just stick behind his current rival and trying to conserve his tires, conserve his space, and then make the move on the pit stop instead. He wouldn't be trying so hard. As we see Alexander Jones actually heading into the pit lane.
Yeah, making his way into the pit lane. That number 48 Speedway racing car, we did say before, an hour and 10 minutes is roughly the limit of the LMP3 fuel tank, and having a look at how long there is to go, it's an hour and 11 minutes to go.
Yeah, I think he's gonna make it. They will have calculated it, and they want him to get out of that battle as soon as possible and trying to undercut the cars in front, and that could be a very, very good call, because he will be on the track with most likely fresh set of tires, as David Junt is trying to make a move here. So it will be David Junt, and he is right now racing against Lorenzo Caponi in the 29 Energy Racing car. So two very, very, very interesting drivers in a very interesting battle for a very interesting position here in this race. P number 5 here on the circuit at stake in a battle, and they will have undoubtedly been notified about what happened behind them. That there is a car that has been to the pit lane, that has returned to the track. Watch out for the undercut boys. But by the looks of things, they are playing right into their hands. Because right now they're just keeping battling, and meanwhile, as you watch behind them, you can see that Alexander Jones is on a relatively free track, 3.7 seconds of free air to the next car, and he will have time to put those laps in, get that free air, wait for the other guys to pit in front of him, and just, get those good lap times in. And once he comes back to the track, and if this continues at this rate, oh, that's a huge lockup. That's a lockup to end all lockups, and right now that tire is a square. I'm betting you that tire is a square. There's no way Lorenzo Caponi is feeling very comfortable in that car right now. Wow.
And with the force feedback as well, that's certainly going to be a workout for him as well on the wheel that he's got. With the force feedback, just going to be vibrating violently until he comes into the stops. And if it continues to vibrate violently, he may have planned on not changing tires, but he might be forced to now.
Yeah, it is one of those things that you will have to wonder about. You have to, think about, do I want to make any hardware changes? Do I want to actually do that? Because the car must be rattling a lot. The thing is that that's a conscious effort. That's something he has to think about right now. And again a lockup, and David Junt right now just heading into that corner and making a beautiful pass on the outside, finally taking the place away from Lorenzo Caponi. And Lorenzo Caponi right now, as I was about to say, he had to make a conscious effort thinking about the force feedback thing, thinking about the lockup. He knew he made a mistake, and that maybe caught him a little bit off guard. He made another mistake going to the corner, and you can see David Junt being like, okay, that's the second time. I'm not gonna let you go free this time. I'm gonna take the position away from you. And that's
just as we're getting to the crucial pit stop phase, Jelle Bensberg in the number 38 Speedmite car went round on the exit of the Dunlop hairpin. And he was in quite a fierce battle with I believe it was with Nick Newcomb, at least in the Eva Basilia racing car.
Oh, that's not ideal. Thanks, Sherlock.
Yes. Yeah, generally spinning not conducive to racing. Being backwards and stationary on track is generally not a good thing.
No, and Nick Newcomb is also on the pit lane right now. So one thing leads to another. Meanwhile, Christian Pallesen is doing what I was thinking he might be doing a couple of laps ago, and he's in a battle. He has grown tired of the fact that continually in this race, Mehmet Özgür Bayrak has shown an inability to get past Nikolai Malichki, right now trying to make it past Mehmet, and Oliver Fortin in the Chanshaw 57 car is also trying to join that battle. And you can see Olivier, what he is doing. He's being a very, very, very clever boy. He is just staying behind, minding the gap. He knows that he could run right behind them, but why would he? He knows that, okay, if I leave a gap, if I just look what will they do, and once they're battling, I can get a good exit if they run a corner side by side. If they continue to slow each other down, then with a single good exit, I can maybe get them both. He is being very smart here, and that is exactly what you should do when you are in the so-called popcorn position, when you are the third car in the pack. That's what you can do, that's what you should do. The thing is, Mehmet right now, getting a little bit of his line to Shumi, as that can happen so easily, and that can be so frustrating as well. And has lost a little bit of ground to the car in front. So he has suddenly gone from attacking to defending, a complete and total mood whiplash here. So he has to adjust really quickly, or else he will be just eaten up by both Christian Pallesen and Olivier Fortin.
Yeah, and it can change incredibly quickly in any type of racing, where suddenly you're on the attack, and you have to attack and defend at the same time now, and that's certainly a position that I do not want to be in. As Ruben Correa Alves, the number 43 Scuderia Leone LMP3 car, comes into the pits. And same goes for David Martinez, the number 18 Speed In Live LMP3 as well. So it appears that they're both coming at the same time to serve their pit stops, as we're nearing in about an hour and 4 minutes to go in this race. So pretty much the halfway mark, I should say rather, which means we should see the beginning of the GT3 stops soon in a few laps' time.
That's gonna be so much fun. I'm so looking forward to it. Now we will see who will be taking tires, who will not take tires, who has saved a little bit of fuel to inch that one extra crucial lap, who hasn't. What can they do? How will their pit stop succeed? Will there be any other issues during the pit stop? It's always a precarious time, but it's such an interesting time in this race, and I am willing to bet you that out of this pack right now, the two cars that are leading this pack, the pack from P number 4 to P number 7, those two cars in front, they will both take tires, they will both want new tires, because they've been battling it out like crazy all throughout the stint. And Neil, it's been an absolute treasure to watch. Right now, Mehmet has caught up once again right into the back of Nikolai Malichkin, that's Sekora Racing number 90. So it's Sekora Racing number 90, driven by Nikolai Malichkin in the front of the pack, and number 75 Caspian Motorsport with Mehmet Özgür Bayrak behind him, and they've been at it, ladies and gentlemen, all throughout the race. It's been gloves off, absolute total war.
It certainly has been, and it's something going to be interesting to see if this battle continues after the pit stop phase.
Malichki heading into the... Yeah, Malichki, speaking of pit stops, just headed into the lane.
Yeah, in 6th place in the GT3 class, appears to be the first caller into the pit lane in the GT3 class.
Yeah, at least out of the leading cars, so that's gonna be interesting. Early stopping, so taking the undercut in the lead of the pack. That's quite interesting, but maybe he thought that, okay, either they are running out of fuel, which will be a problem if they're running out of fuel at this stage, means they will have to conserve quite a bit on the second stint, or they thought that, I want to get out of this pack right now. I just wanna, see and try to not run the risk of losing even more time while battling the other cars. The thing is that what he had done right now is he let his main rival, Mehmet Özgür Bayrak, right into free air. So ideally you would have wanted to leave him under pressure from cars behind. You didn't do that, but that's still not a bad call, Don't let the cars behind you take the undercut, take the initiative yourself. Meanwhile, battle for P2 also rages on. This has been an everlasting battle as well, so it's Gianluca De Matteo against Felix Antoine Forti.
Yes, the number 65 Buster Z Racing versus number 62 Zancho car. Half a second separate the two of them. They are making their way... excuse me. As they're making their way... where are they on track, actually? Out of the final turn, then start-finish straight.
Yeah, and still
the number 77 car leaves the pits.
Oh yes, so they are coming out of the pit lane and rejoining in the back of the field. That's the Pushrod Racing GT3 entry, driven by Ferran Grau at the moment.
Yeah, Ferran Grau currently driving that car down in that 18th positioning class at the moment.
Yeah, I think that will settle into its place once these pit stops are starting to be done. Oh, we are joining in with Jeffrey Becker. Who... Oh, no, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. That's Cameron Sansano, I believe, who just had a very messy pit entry. I'm fairly sure, I can't confirm this, but I'm fairly sure he just nose blunted the pit entry wall.
Oh, what very similar to what the BMW did at the 24 Hours in the Nurburgring this year.
Yeah, and David Coulthard did once in the day, back in the day.
Yes, I think that was Adelaide, that one.
Yeah, it was Adelaide, 1994 or 5. He did it from the lead of the race too.
But yes,
But
generally headbutting the pit barrier, also not a good idea.
no, not on the list of good
yes.
ideas. No. And joining that GD3 battle for P number 2 once again. So that's been one to watch out for, and one that we've been enjoying amidst the other great battles in this race. And it's also a more strategic one by the looks of things. You can see Felix Antoine Fortin just in the typical chain show fashion being very clever, being very smart about this, knowing that okay, he will just try and wait and see what they do ahead of him, try to see what Gianluca Di Matteo is doing, and try to perhaps figure out what is the best strategy here. So very experienced bunch of racers, very good results for that team, and looks like they will get another one out of here tonight in the second round of the VLMC. Now, of course, you could look at the clock and you see that there's 59 minutes left. Oh, just as Fortin makes a little bit of a mistake in coming out of turn number 2. That is easy to do, getting a little bit sideways, but figuring it out fairly quickly and getting back on the pace. There's 59 minutes left on the clock, bit under right now. They are over the mandatory pit time. That is, you have to make an hour mathematically in order to make it for another hour. So they should be coming in pretty soon. You are seeing on the scoreboard on the left a lot of GD3 cars on the pit lane right now. You are seeing a whole bunch of them pitting right now. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars in that class in the pit lane, and you're seeing just a few cars still out there. So this is a good thing for both of these guys. This is a very good thing that they are managing to stay out for so long, eke out one more lap, and try and see perhaps if they can eke out even one more lap over the number 87 Wave 3 Esports. Lorenzo Arisi have been running an excellent race, 5 seconds ahead of these guys, and see if these guys have at least a fuel advantage, if not for anything else.
Yeah, of course, for every lap longer that you manage to stay out in this stint, it means you can put in one lap less of fuel in the pit stop, and of course have a shorter pit stop time, which can really be beneficial if you are in a tight battle like these drivers are. Timothy Adanovsky comes into the pits in number 33 Rookie Monsters car, and the same goes for Lorenzo Arisi, Giancarlo Di Matteo, Felix Antoine Fortin. The top 3 in GT3s all coming in at the same time.
Yes, they are. Now I will have to see about the number 83 Speedy Man Racing, Nick Da Silva. Is he coming yet to the pit lane? If he isn't, then it's gonna be quite an interesting thing indeed. No, the 80...
No, I don't think he is. Oh no, he is coming.
He is, yeah. Was just so much behind. Alexander Jones, yes. We see also on track. Being, or rather, making a move on Ruben Colea Alves. Now we remember these guys battling earlier on as well. Alexander Jones making a really early pit stop, Alex was. And he is really starting to reap the benefits out of that one. I'm looking to see that car very high up in the order today, just because he made that excellent move of pitting early, doing the undercut, maybe paying the price a little bit later on in the race, but right now it's looking to pay benefits because of that infernal GD3 battle that was going on early on in this race. So
yeah, all the GT3 cars decide to come in the same lap, it appears. I think that's the top 6 now in the GT3 all coming in at the same time. as the Wave 3 sports car of Lorenzo Risi is the first one to leave, followed by Felix Antoine Fortan in the 62, then the Busters E-Racing car of Paolo Taglione. So there's been a driver swap in the number 65 car, and as a result, they've lost their position to Felix Antoine Fortan in the Zancho 62.
Yes, so Fortan right now taking that second place away. We will have to wait until the end of the race to hear if that's been a tactical driver change, maybe need a different type of driver to the second stint, or perhaps it's been a driver change just for the to relieve on a driver and a preset strategy, and just planning to go with 2 drivers all along. Remember, this is a 2-hour race, so in my mind, barely even an endurance race, but still multi-class and endurance enough in its type. But the thing that separates it from your typical endurance race is not only their length, but also the fact that you can solo this race. You can run absolutely as a single driver all throughout the race, and some have indeed opted to do that, because 2 hours is a typical practice stint for a lot of these drivers, so why not just run a practice stint? It's a lot easier also, and eliminates a lot of risks that are involved in the driver change department that we shall not get further into. And yeah, it's just basically a decision whether you want to run for 2 hours, whether you're comfortable running 2 hours, whether your team is comfortable running 2 hours. And also we saw in the background, right behind there, that Ruben Correa Alves in the number 43 Scuderia Leone car just had a spinner for himself in turn number 3.
Turn number 3 is very difficult because it's one of these ones where you're braking and turning at the same time, and is at the end of a long radius corner, so your front right tire is screaming no more, but you still have to put more and more pressure on it.
Oh yeah, and it's so easy to misjudge that braking spot, as Simon Marshall is making his way to the pit lane as well in the number 73 car.
The Minister's car, yep.
Yeah. So it's so easy to misjudge that corner. You can leave your braking just a little bit later, because it always will feel like I can brake a little bit later in here. Why am I braking so early? And that's one of the first things you try to do when you're trying to eke out a little bit of lap time, as which I said earlier on, you can't get faster in race conditions. You can't improve your driving drastically in race conditions. But if you want to try and take a little bit more of a risk, a calculated risk, the first thing a driver will instinctively do is, okay, I will brake a little bit later in turn number 3, try to get it stick, because there is that sweet spot of getting it turned right in, just enough of oversteer to make the car rotate really nicely and manage to just, fling it in and get a really nice line to turn number 4. But if you misjudge that, then oh boy, you are in a whole heap of trouble. Now, not necessarily braking the car because it's a low speed corner, but in that agonious, really frustrating low speed half spin that you cannot save with any means possible, and then you know that you're losing so much time. You have to maneuver your car around, there's other cars coming, you can't really see them, you just have to rely on the information provided, and that will stick in the back of your head, and that will really mess up your rhythm. So it's one of those things where you can maybe gain a little bit of time with some calculated risk, but it's also quite a big risk, as opposed to just running wide. You can very easily spin there, so I am not at all surprised to see that happen to one of the drivers. Ruben Correa Alves, I'm not saying he's not a quality driver, he absolutely is a quality driver.
Oh yeah,
but,
he is, yeah.
Yeah, but he is fortunate to just lose one position away from that one. About 6.5 seconds in total. Lorenzo Caponi in the Energy Racing entry, getting past him.
I think it's because you've got all that, just going back to that corner, because you've got all that weight in the front, on the front right. It means that when you start braking, the rear end of the car is, lighter in comparison to other braking zones around the circuit, which means it's just that little bit easier for that back end to step out.
Yeah, it's a downhill braking as well, which only adds to the effect. So running downhill and slight downhill, you're braking hard into a really sharp corner, turning a little bit at the same time, and your rear is really light. Yeah, it's no wonder you can screw up that corner majorly. Big time, big time.
running into the final 50 minutes of this race, 51 minutes I should say rather, of this race, and it is Erdem Akil in the lead of this race in the Caspian Motorsports number 39, David Yunt in second, in the EVA Racing by Brasilia, Daniel Smergiglio in third as it stands, but I think it's mainly because that those three have yet to make their pit stop. Look at Melio in the number 33 Speedy Mike car is the first one to have made their pit stop.
Yeah, so that's gonna be very interesting to see where those guys fall out. Meanwhile, the speculation of GD3 tires or non-tires rather, it looks like a lot of the leading drivers at least have stayed in roughly the same position. Now, one of the drivers that has lost a bit of time during the pit stop sequence, I believe, with Mehmet Özgür Bayrak dropping into... No, he's still up there. Excuse me, he's still up there, so just looking at the different thing at first. But yeah, looks like everyone is running on pretty much the same strategy in the GD3 class. I'm not seeing any big changes. I'm not also seeing anything super alarming, except for Wave 3 and Esports just casually gaining another 5 seconds on P number 2. Just, you know, casually putting it in there. Last time by, Lorenzo Arisi, 155.899, Paolo Tadeolini, 157.0, so that explains it.
Yeah, and when I said that Lucas Mello drives for Speedway Racing earlier, no, he drives for Team Rookie Monsters, him mixed up with one of the, I think it's 7 or 8 Speedway cars in this series.
Yeah, it's a fair bit.
Yeah.
It's a fair bit.
And race director Sean Jacobs is overseeing it. It's also part of the Speedway organisation, so yes, trying to win the championship by just sheer numbers. If one
What can I say, Neil? Speedy Mike's a good team to have, mate. You probably confused him with Luca Burke there. It's the other Luca. There you go.
Yeah, the other Luca, and there he goes. Luca Burke in the Speedy Mike racing car. Currently in second place. I'm at about 15 seconds or so behind as Erdem Akil makes his pit stop. Number 39 Caspian Motorsport car pitting from the lead of the race. David Yunt still going on. The same goes for the number 7 Wave 3 Esports car. So those two still going. 48 minutes left on the clock, which means they're going to actually have a very, very short pit stop phase.
Yeah, they're gonna win a lot of time, and convenient. That is the convenient strategy. That is the ideal strategy in a race like this. You want to go as long as possible, even if you're taking tires. Now, that is because you are saving so much time on the pit stop. You are just, you know, taking a little bit less fuel. You are being able to run with low fuel at that middle point of the race. The thing is, half the guys behind managed to make up some of that difference by taking new tires earlier. That is the real question. Which one is faster? Which one will work out in the end? We will just have to wait and see. But those guys have really, really managed to be on an economy run to still be running in this race. Because you got 47.5 minutes left on the clock, soon enough. And they are still running out there.
Yeah, still running out there indeed. There's Luca Burke, that number 5 Speedomite car, may well be double stinting tyres. Double stinting their tyres in the LMP3. I can see kind of why, because there really isn't anywhere on this circuit where the tyres are put through incredibly high stress. I'd say the only places where really those tyres are stressed is the front right tyre in that long turn 2, turn 3 combination, and the front left on the right-hander as they come onto the back straight. I think those two are really the only two places in the circuit where you're really straining the tyres, so, you know, it can be fairly light in terms of tyre wear.
It can be, but it's the kind of circuit that will punish for it also, because...
Oh, yes.
Nurburgring is one of those circuits that, at least for me personally, when I've driven it, driven some long races here, driven some short races here, driven some in-between races here, it's always a bit of a, you know, especially the arena sector. Oh, Nick da Silva making a move, so we shall return to Nurburgring soon enough. Make an easy move actually right here on Christian Pallesen. That's very easy. Wow. So Pallesen just basically letting him bite her. I wonder if Christian is suffering from an issue or there's something else. Either way, Nick da Silva making up one position right there. Yeah, as I was about to say, Nürburgring is one of those circuits that will always feel like you're running too slow and you're understeering all over the place, and then you suddenly have snap oversteer in the places you don't want to have snap oversteer in, which is anywhere basically, but especially in the fast corners.
Yes.
Especially the fast corners, and then you combine the last chicane, the absolute horror show that is the last chicane on Nürburgring. Honestly, that is... It's so slow, it feels so unnatural. You can't take the curb because you will damage the floor of the car, or if you do take the curb, you have to take it just right, or you bottom out and you will spin, and it's... the braking zone going into it, and you know that someone is gonna try a hero move up to the inside of that, and you either have to give way or you're both in the wall. So, you know, you have a lot of frustrating things in this GP layout of the track, but still, I think it's a very good track. I do like the camber, I do like how the curbs work, I do like how some of the corners flow into each other, I do like the variety, and I think, ultimately, the circuit has managed to do what it was made to be, which is basically a mini version, a GP version, a modern version of its big sister.
Yes, I think the main reason that chicane is there because you can't really be going into the final corner at 300 kilometers an hour plus.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
That's not with that runoff.
I mean, you can try, but it's maybe not an advisable thing to do.
Yeah.
As it appears that Paolo Tariolini in the number 65 Buster C racing car has managed to make his way past the 62 Zancho Felix Antoine Fortans. The 65 back into second place in the GT3 class, the 62 relegated back into third.
Yep. So, around they go.
Our final pit stops in the LMP3 class going. Daniel Smergilio in the number 7 Wave Free Esports car, and David Jensen number 2 Eva Racing by Basilia car, both making their final stops, and that puts Luca D'Amelio in that number 33 Team Rookie Monsters back into the lead of the race by about 6 seconds over Erdemacchio in the number 39 Caspian Motorsport.
Here we go. So final pit stops being done, and absolutely wonderfully long stint for that car. Wow, that's just an heroic effort. Unfortunately, Danilo Smeriglio not being able to reap too many benefits out of that one because he's gonna drop back a long way, but that was a heroic stint. I mean, that was what, almost 1 hour and 20 minutes. Wow.
Almost an hour and 20 minutes, which is fairly impressive. They certainly extended that tank more than was expected at the beginning of this race by about 10 minutes, which is about 5 laps or so around here.
Yeah, well, about 6 minutes. 6 minutes he was actually not quite 10. 6. I correct myself. Yeah, but still 3 laps more than people expected. That's not chump change. That's actually a fair bit. You know, even managing to eke out a lap is quite difficult and takes quite a lot of fuel conservation. So 3 laps is quite impressive indeed. Let's see if that counts into their end result, if they're being able to bring a good result out here from tonight. Certainly looks like they are on track to do that right now. Okay. Can you confirm whether that's a glitch in the live timing or whether Erdemacchio in the second place of the LMP3 class has just done a 149.5?
It does say 149.5. I'll have a look. Yeah, that is a 149.5. The fastest lap of the race by 0.4 of a second. Luca D'Amelio did hold the old fastest lap of a 49.996, but Erdemacchio just smashing it in there with a 49.577. That's fine. That's 0.4 faster than what anyone else has done.
Yeah, so...
That's...
How? Why?
What is that? What?
And right now the gap unfortunately increasing in some traffic, but it was down to 4.8 at one point. No, it's actually going back down. So We will just have to follow the sector times, wait and see how those lap times develop. But that's Erdi McKeel certainly not giving up on the hopes of winning this race. And can I just say, 4/10 faster than anyone else. I know we said it a lot of times, but to the folks at home, to those perhaps not familiar with top level racing, finding 1/10 is incredible. Finding 2/10 on the rest of the field is considered a small victory. Finding 4/10 in race conditions on raw pure pace is nigh unbelievable. That's in the territory of, do you perform magic or something?
Yes, it does seem like that sometimes when you've got these drivers putting in these amazing lap times. But yes, on his last lap, 50.7, mainly because of a little bit of traffic there, so a second or so slower last time round for the number 39 car, but that gap now down to 4 3/4 seconds.
Guess what we are saying on screens right now? Two GT3 cars battling, and guess who they are?
Oh, wonderful. Go on.
Yes.
I believe it'll be Buster G Sport and Zancho, is it? As Zancho makes their way past.
Oh, that also. I was not referring to that
also.
battle. Yeah, that also. There was also the battle between Mehmet Özgür Bayrak and Mikolai Malichki continuing
Yes,
with
that one as well, yep.
With Mehmet losing a little bit of ground, but Chenso making it past, and that's the big news right now.
Yeah, the number 62 car making his way up into second. He's got 6 seconds to find on the number 87 Wave 3 Esports car of Lorenzo Risi in order to challenge for the win of this race in the final third. Under 40 minutes to go now.
So, we'll have to check that out, check how that develops, check if Chenso really has it in them to actually challenge for the lead that Wave 3 Esports and Lorenzo Risi have held for all throughout this race. Or Wave 3 Esports have been really solid throughout this event. 6 seconds pulling out the gap behind them, and absolutely looking like the top of the field and deserving of that lead right now. But let's see if it lasts, or if there is going to indeed be another surge of speed from Chenso. Certainly wouldn't expect anything less from them. Meanwhile, Erdi McKeel, just a little bit of an update, has calmed down his pace a little bit, doing a 150.
Yes, just a touch, it's fine.
150.3 last time around, 150.5 for Luca Di Melio. Even more importantly, cars behind 53.4, 54.2, 53 is, and the next car even close to them is David Jund in P number 7, 51.9, and Danilo Smeriglio with a 150.5 actually last time round, the Wave 3 Esports LMP3 entry.
The fastest lap of the race for that car.
Yeah, so he is on a good pace as well, and he is, I do believe, 8 seconds behind the next car on track.
Yes, I made that about 8 seconds, 9 seconds or so at the moment. As, yes, that gap at the front. Can Erdi McKeel continue with that amazing pace that he's got? 4.2 seconds to separate the front two. So it appears that Caspian Motorsports is closing in ever so slightly on the Team Rookie Monsters car.
Yeah, and David Jund also in a battle here for P number 6, and that is of course Lorenzo Capone, David Jund, so that is all going to play in the hands of Alexander Jones and Danilo Smeriglio behind them, because the longer these guys battle, I've said it many times in this race, but practice makes perfect, so longer these guys battle, the more it's gonna play in the hands of the guys behind. That's always something you have to remember. Bigger battles, as David Jund makes his way past momentarily side by side with the Schumi, as you don't want to do that, and take White didn't. Lorenzo Capone ended up giving away that position, but being very smart and not trying to force it side by side with the Schumi, because that's not gonna work out, lads. Or even if it's gonna work out, it will be some excellent racing, one for the highlight reel, but also something that you're gonna lose a lot of time in as well. And we are seeing some lap traffic here as well, and that is interesting because you see number 22 Nick Newcomb here on screens, and behind him is that everlasting GD3 battle.
Yes.
So that's the battle between Secora Racing and Caspian Motorsport. So you're seeing those battles just intertwine as Nick Newcomb as well right now, just letting some faster P3 traffic by apparently. So, but yeah, that's the battle I wanted to talk about. Mehmet Özgür Bayrak. He's been so long right now watching the rear of that car, watching the rear of another car, and still in the battle. They have lost a lot of positions, mind you. They're battling for P5. Oh! Losing it on the entry into turn number 1. Wow. That was a biggie, so got a little bit on the curb, maybe a little bit on the cross and the braking, and I was just about to say, they've been losing some positions. Well, guess what? They just lost some more.
Yeah,
but that's a
few
biggie.
more positions is certainly not what you want, is it?
No,
especially at this point in the race, especially with the race as short as this, with it only being 2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours. You can't afford to make many mistakes. Oscar Bences here in the sister car. Meanwhile, on the pictures as well, he seems to be battling against Handy Racing and Christian Riva. So in the junior effort, Oscar Bences trying to do what their senior car couldn't quite do, and try to make their way past another car. And they are actually doing very well for a so-called junior team, because they are on the edge of the top 10 right now, and that's very respectable indeed. Even having 2 entries for the same team in the top of the echelon here at VLMC is very, very good. So we'll just have to see whether those guys develop and whether Oscar Bences can potentially be one of those guys over time, being very smart in letting that P3 pass, that maybe can make their way into the top team. Who knows?
Yeah, having being on the edge of that top 10, of course, that top 10 more important because that's what gets you the points here in the VLMCs. 25 for the win, 18, 15, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, then 1 for 10th place. And, you know, just getting a single point, if you're always battling in that sort of like 8th to 12th, 13th area, getting those few extra points may be crucial for your standings at the end of the season.
It could be. Now, hearing that point system, it does ring a bell, and I do wonder if the prize money is here. Prize money here is, or rather, the TV broadcasting money, the millions, all the millions that we get from the broadcasting rights, are divided between essentially top 3 teams as well. You know, the big teams. Or whether just a thing for another series that uses this point system. Anyway, Oscar Mendes trying to make a move going into the turn number 1, tucking in behind, going inside, then looking outside, then deciding, you know what, I don't fancy it right now, maybe later. Let's see if the guy makes a mistake. Trying to crack that guy, and that's, if you have someone who can commit into cracking another driver, into getting inside their head, trying to get into the head of Christian Riva right now, and trying to absolutely crack him, see where he breaks, you are so golden as an attacking driver, because then you have options. You don't have to force the move, and suddenly you don't no longer have to make the move, have the pressure of having to make the move. You can also just apply pressure by just being there, sticking behind, and forcing the other guy to all throughout the race look into their mirrors, trying to wonder, okay, what will they do, and running so close behind as Özgür Bences right now is, without hitting another driver. That will put so much pressure on Riva's head right now, putting so much, like making his thoughts wander. Skilled drivers, only the very best drivers can block out that pressure, or at least try to not get it affect their driving too much. But if you have someone who is so skilled at attacking another driver, who is making moves all the time, who is playing around in your mirrors, in the left mirror, in the right mirror, sometimes looking at center, you never know quite what they're gonna do, then you are going to hesitate going into those corners. You are going to double check on every apex of the corner to see if there's a car there. You are going to double check on every straight, and that means you cannot go on as fast as you can. You cannot perform at 100%, and that means in turn that you are putting the advantage into the attacking driver's hands.
putting it into that attacking driver's hands. You know, that's where this becomes a 100 and sorry, I should probably use metric units. Actually, this is where it becomes a 240, 250 kilometer an hour game of chess almost occasionally.
Yeah, it does. It does. And it's a very fast-paced game too, but you hope that you are not running with only bishops, you know. It would be a bit of a shame to run only diagonally. Perhaps going into the Keiichi school of driving there. Either way, Otsgur once again trying to look for that room, look a little bit alongside into turn number 1, getting a little bit more aggressive right now. Just looking for his chance, but most importantly, I must say, so far, and I try not to jinx it, but so far, Christian Riva has been absolutely perfect in front of him. Not a single mistake, not a single time he's placed his car wrong, being very clever with the traffic. As you can see there, that was not clever, not leaving enough room, but just playing with the traffic as well, trying to put a car between himself and benches behind as often as he can, just doing some really solid driving. This is where you really start to appreciate endurance racing, start to appreciate the drivers, the effort they put into these situations. When you see a battle like this all the time raging on, you see the defensive moves, the offensive moves that are happening all the time, and you just, sort of, it becomes strategic. And there is time for that strategy. It's not just a half an hour sprint. You have time to think, you have time to try and break another driver. You don't have to go for the move as soon as the move comes. As we see excellent battling here for P number 4, I believe, in the GT3 class.
Yes, excellent battling there for P4 between, it would be P4 actually. Nick Silva, Olivier Fortan, and Christian Palison, Speedy Mike, Zancho, and Go Team Racing. There we go. Go Team Racing, all battling for that 4th position. As I'm just also having a look at the battle between Sakura Racing and Zancho for that 8th place between Mikolai Maliki and Daniel Finney. And having a look at that one, Daniel Finney almost yeeted the Sakura car coming into the chicane on the back straight. But managed to enough avoiding action to make sure that did not happen. But coming into the final 30 minutes of the 2 hours of the Nurburgring, the second round of the VLMC. And 28 minutes to go, 28 minutes to go or so now, and it's Luca D'Amelio and the Team Rookie Monsters car in the lead by 3.5 seconds now. That gap is coming down and down. Luca Berg currently in 3rd position, the number 5, Speedway in 3rd, T. Adanovsky in the 2nd, Team Rookie Monsters car in 4th, and then it's Eva Racing by Basilio, number 2, David Yunt in 5th, as I believe Nick Newcomb in the number 22 Eva Racing by Basilio car came into the pits again. So wondering, as it was an incident, Olivier Fortin by the sounds of it, in the number 57 Zancho car.
Yeah, that's not ideal. That's not what you want. So Fortan right now suddenly finding himself 10 seconds behind Mehmet Özgür Bayrak, who is suddenly in the 9th position. So that just goes to illustrate how far he has fallen the Chansho car. So Chansho, I can imagine Ed being even more grumpy than usual right now.
Yes, that's possible. I thought it was his default mode to be grumpy, isn't it?
Yeah, hence more than usual. Don't at me.
Don't at me. Oh, you're going to get pinged on the Discord server later if you're not careful.
Yeah.
But yes, Erdomakil is slowly closing that gap to the leader. About 3 seconds separates himself and Luca D'Amelio now.
Ooh, that is going to be spicy. That is going to be very spicy indeed. And I mean, Erdomakil, Luca D'Amelio, very, very good pace from both of these guys. And Erdem Makiol actually, his last lap 150.4. Look at him earlier, 150.9. So looks very much like that is going into the hands of number 39, the Caspian Motorsport. And what a race they've had so far. I mean, Erdem Makiol, first his wonderful, wonderful way of trying to catching up to the lead, and then making
Yes.
the move, and then getting past, and now putting the gap between them. That's wonderful. That's just I know I say wonderful a lot. I know I say it a lot, but honestly, like, you have to respect a man who can put out that kind of pace in these kind of conditions in a battle for the lead in an arena such as this. It's not an easy task to do, but he has absolutely earned this position with his raw pace. Now, we'll just have to wait and see if he can hold on.
As it appears it was the fault of, well, according to Nick Newcomb, it appears it was the fault of the Sancho car in the NGK chicane, the tight chicane at the end of the back straight, the incident between himself and the Olivier Fortin. Obviously that is partisan, but it will be looked at after the race by the race director.
Yeah, it will be, and we will see who gets the whip this time around.
Who gets the horrific penalty for next time round at Imola on the 21st of December.
Yeah, so 3 days before the holidays begin, and that is really, really close time. That is one of the last times of the year one can really do a big race on sim racing. I do
Yes.
believe that pretty much effectively closes out the season for a lot of people. Now,
Yes.
of course, this season runs all throughout the winter to the spring, but runs out 2019. Here's a little bit of time to spend time with their families, spend time with their friends, whatnot, you know, their loved ones. Get a little bit of time out and come back refreshed and with probably a couple of extra kilos as well to the next season. Because that always happens in the Christmas time. You know, even, I mean, my family, we don't eat much in Christmas anyway. We just usually try to keep it to minimum. As the contact between 57 and 22 is under investigation right now.
I'm not surprised.
No. Apparently it is avoidable contact.
Yes. I'm not exactly sure how else you could describe an incident like that, but yes, avoidable contact. But yes, the 21st of December will be the 2 hours of Imola, and indeed pretty well the last sim racing event of 2019 here at SRC. And on the 14th of December, 1 week before, it's going to be the 6 hours of. Sorry, it's the 8 hours of the Nurburgring at that point, isn't it? Yes, ring 3 of the VEC.
Yay, so the big boys with proper endurance racing will be here on your screens as well. And just a lot of racing, and for some of these guys perhaps a little bit of practice for this one here. Different
Yes,
cars,
it can
of
be,
course.
yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
different
completely
cars
different
a little
cars.
bit, but you know, just getting used to the track, getting used to the
I'd argue the
lines.
GT3 drivers could use it as some practice for GTE, because they're not particularly different, are they?
Well, the main difference is that GT3 has both ABS and traction control, whereas GTE has only traction control. You got a little bit more grip, aerodynamic grip in the GTE cars, a little bit fatter tires. Power's around the same, so you know, GTE is a couple of seconds a lap faster. So actually, GTEs could be almost running the lap times of the LMP3 cars, but in terms of driving, they can be very similar. Not necessarily the same, but there are similarities, and you can certainly use similar lines and so on, get to read them, get the feel of how the race is going to go. So yeah, in that aspect, yes. And in general, track knowledge is something that you never have too much track knowledge. You never have too much knowledge of a certain circuit, of how to run it, of where are the overtaking opportunities, how the track changes over time, which parts will come treacherous with old tires and so on. That is usually a skill that transfers itself very well from one car to another.
Yes, because, like as you said, there are some universal things at all race circuits, like where there's the opportunity to pass when the VEC comes here in 3 weeks' time. Yeah, 3 weeks' time. You know, it is universal that turn one, Dunlop hairpin and the NGK chicane will be the 3 main passing opportunities.
Yeah, those will be the big ones, and then there will be Braveman who will try it elsewhere. Danilos Mereglio right now on your screens. He was running at a very good pace earlier on and trying to make it his way past Lorenzo Caponi. Not quite able to do it in the final chicane, but surely he will be very anxious to get that move done. Let's just take a sneak peek onto the live timing, and we'll find out that Danilos Mereglio's fastest lap 150.2, Lorenzo Caponi 150.3, but earlier on Smeriglio was running a second faster than the other drivers around him, so he was at least a bit further back in a very, very good pace. And looks like right now Smeriglio is still able to keep that pace going and being able to attack for P number 7 in what would be a very respectable result for that team as well.
Yeah, very, very respectable result, and just building up points towards the championship, the all-important championship, and seeing where they're going to be at the end of the season. And the top, and having a look at the timing, with 20 minutes to go now. So it's going to be about 11 laps, 12 laps maybe for the leaders of this race. And in terms of the GTEs, maybe 10, maybe 11 laps. But yeah, the top 2 have just checked out. Caspian Motorsport and Team Rookie Monsters with a 30-second lead over Luca Berk in the number 5 Speedy Mite Racing car in 3rd.
Yeah, so a little bit of moment there, and you look at just a little bit of battles that have not anymore raged on in there. Then you look at the GT3 class, and you see Lorenzo Arisi in the lead of that one in a Wave Free Esports car, as they have been all throughout the race, with Felix Antoine 14 in the Chanshow car, and then you got Paolo Tadeolini in the 3rd place with the Busters E Racing car. A lot of speedy mites in this race, as have been mentioned earlier on, and a lot of fast drivers, but especially for Erden Makiol, I just must say his race has been splendid, and right now he looks to be just on a cruise home. He has built himself a 5-second cushion over P number 2, Luca Di Emilio, in the Team Rookie Monsters car, and mind you, that number 33 Team Rookie Monsters car, that has been on a wonderful, wonderful pace, generally speaking, and that was actually the car that won the season opener at Sepang. So, you know, very, very, very big scalp for the Caspian Motorsport, who themselves had a very difficult early going in the VLMC this season. They were classified number 11th, so last of the finishers in the LMP3 class, which means, of course, that they will need these points. They will need this win out here tonight.
Yeah, it needs that win out there, and again, it's what we were saying earlier. Is, but you know, if you want to have a good run at the championship, you can afford one bad finish.
Excuse me. Fini just getting past Mehmet Özgür Beyrak and putting one car between that big battle right now. So Daniel Fini certainly not giving up on his search to get forward. Mehmet Özgür Beyrak is like, hang on, that's not a pale blue and white car. Who is this I'm battling?
What is this new challenger?
Yeah, Nikolai Malichki also getting passed by Fini on the outside on turn number 2. He's certainly showing how it's done, but running a little bit wide. Oh, look at that. Oh! All sorts of out of shape there. And Fini certainly showing, doing in almost 2 corners, but took almost 2 hours for for these guys to get figured out. Just basically like, okay, you're having a nice battle here. Let me just get by you and you can keep going. Okay, thanks, bye. And this opens up an opportunity actually for Beyrak to finally get that move done, because he is managing to follow Fini and getting to the inside, and let's see if he can get it done into Dunlop. Ooh, he's still on the inside, and getting that move done, not quite making it through, so on to Shumi as they go and side by side.
Yeah, going through side by side, incredible racing by all of them there.
Yeah, really close, still side by side, so they did actually manage to make it through Shumias side by side. Mehmet Ozgur Beyrak and Nikolai Malichki, and Mehmet getting really out of shape on the runoff area, not minding that at all, pushing Malichki a little bit wide, still side by side they go, heading into the final chicane. Who will it be? Surely not too wide through here, surely something has got to giving at some point. Beyrak versus Malichki, who will it be taking this position? It will be Malichki retaining through the final chicane. So Mehmet Ozgur Beyrak, for him a heartbreak. He has tried for 1.5 hours in this event to get through that car, and still, despite being side by side for half a lap, enduring that battle, still not able to get through. Once again he tries in the first corner.
It's going to be painful at this point, isn't it? It's going to be incredibly painful. You'll be having nightmares of the back end of that car in his sleep.
And just as I said that, guess what happened?
Past him.
Yeah, Beyrak finally made it past Nikolai Malichki. And now it's time for the sister car to show how it's done, because Ozgur Bences is right now fighting for that final points paying position. He has to let an LMP3 car get by, and then it's back to the battle. It's Handy Racing and Christian Riva versus Ozgur Bences. Actually, yeah, Ozgur Bences in that car. It shows though. It shows, yeah, he just had a failure there. Stopped into turn number 2. I was just looking at live timing, so I didn't catch what happened live, because he was trying to make a pass, and right now he's in pit lane, so it looks like a complete and total mechanical disaster. So while one of the Caspian Motorsport teams celebrates, 2 of them celebrate, actually, of course, one is still in the lead on the LMP3 class, another one is pushed out of the battle now. Let's see if Nikolai Malichki, and I want to see this, if Malichki still has enough in his gas tank to put up respectable battle on, or if they both feel like, okay, that's it, good battle guys, let's move on and just try to finish this race.
Also, how much he's taken out of his tires.
Yeah, that's one of the things. We saw those guys running side by side in the corners, running really deep into the braking zones, really not giving much respect to rubber that is in those cars. So you must wonder who is suffering more in the tire department. Who is the guy right now that has to really think about the tires, trying to maybe cool them down for a lap or two, trying to eke out a little bit of grip from those tires, see if they manage one more attack. But with 14 minutes to go in the clock, it's gonna have to be a really quick session. Now no longer you have time to be for the mind games, to try and, you know, close guying closely and then just wait for a couple of laps to see where they will be aggressive, where they will be passive, where they will be slow, and where they will be passed. Now the positions are reversed, and the best hope right now for Nikolai Malichki is that he can quickly catch up to Mehmet Ozgur Beyrak and maybe try and get a move done.
He's trying to make a move done in the dying laps of this race, and of course he'll also be looking at the clock, seeing the seconds count down, knowing that he's got fewer and fewer chances to make that move.
Yeah, I mean, he knows that, okay, this race is nearing towards its final stages. It's nearing towards the final 7 or 8 laps that we still have left. So, you know, he knows that there's not gonna be long, and he knows that there is potentially 2 or 3 possibilities to make that overtake each lap. So you got a set amount of tries, and each time you are not close enough, or you fail to make an overtake, or something prevents your overtake in that possibility, you lose one of the tries. And it's easy to think that if you got 5 laps to go, there are 3 overtaking spots on the track. That means technically you got 15 tries to close it out. And then maybe you can apply a choker if somebody absolutely makes a mistake or an opportunity opens up where you don't expect it to. But certainly you got 3 tries per lap on this track.
and that's what he's gonna be counting about. That's what he's gonna be thinking. Well, hopefully not thinking all the time, also focusing on his driving, but it's got to be on the back of his mind. Especially as after such a long battle, you really don't want to lose it out. You will, as a driver, you will remember those battles. You will be absolutely hyped up for those battles, but you don't want to be on the losing end of it. Because you want to show it to your mates. You want to see, oh, we had this wonderful battle in this race on Saturday at the Nurburgring. We had this great race for a great position against a great driver, and I won. You don't want to say, oh, but I lost, you know. Or you don't want to have to, you know, put a timestamp up at certain point on YouTube and hope that they don't watch it to the end.
Yes. Yeah. I agree. Just hoping they don't watch the entirety of it, yes.
Yeah, well, as a commentator, I'm certainly hoping. I think that's actually prevented by the Geneva Convention.
Yes.
So, could be. Riding on board with Nick Da Silva right now. He's on P number 4 in the GD3 class. So we'll have to see if he can make any move on Paolo Taddeolini in that Buster's E-Racing car. So it's Buster's E-Racing P number 3 versus the Speedmatch Racing P number 4, cars number 65 and 83 battling it out. Nick Da Silva looking very close, like making a move on the front straight. Oh, having a little bit of contact as car in front broke very early indeed. So there was an LMP3 turn. As a result of that, the number 65 car of Paolo Taddeolini had to brake really early, and Nick Da Silva running in the back of him on the under braking at turn number 1. Let's see if that's gonna have a long time effect, or whether that's a bit of a scare more than anything. It certainly looks like both of the cars are still on a reasonable pace going forward, so maybe they got away with that one. Oh! A spinner in the LMP3 class as well. Trying to find out maybe who that was.
Ruben Correa Alves gone round in the Scuderia Leone car, down into 10th place now in that final points paying position.
Yeah, right now in P number 11 actually on the live standings as a result of that, so could have big implications, that one. Jelebins-Bergen in that P number 10 can breathe a little bit easier as a result of that bit of a spinner. So late on in the race we are still having some drama, still having positions changing, and we still have a podium position wide open. Paolo Taddeolini trying to hold on to what he can. Nick Da Silva trying to take it away from him, but it's not gonna be an easy battle. He certainly tries in the last corner. Again, we come into those tries. Nick Da Silva has to at some point decide where he wants to make that move and how he wants to make that move. He knows
is
Paolo.
the 67 Zancho's got a problem at the Dunlop hairpin.
Oh!
Daniel Finney, who was of course in that wonderful battle with Sakura Racing and Caspian Motorsport for the majority of this race, has got a problem at the Dunlop hairpin.
Wow, so that's gonna have some big time implications indeed. See if we can find out where they have dropped as a result of that. They are right now not being scored, so that's certainly interesting. Meanwhile, Nick Da Silva actually got himself through on Paolo Taddeolini on P number 3 in the arena section of the track. So Nick Da Silva making the move. Paolo not about to give that in so easily. Nick Da Silva made that one look quite easy, it must be said, in terms that he didn't have to battle for half a lap for that one. Overtakes never easy on the sharp end of the field. But now the tables are turned. Now Nick Da Silva can think, okay, I am in P number 3, I am in the position where I can realistically be in this race. Now let's see if the guy behind has any more gas in his tank. But he sees open track in front of him. He sees that frustratingly for Paolo, he is losing also a little bit of time in traffic, going a little bit wide in the Chumias, so Nick Da Silva not only able to get the move done, but also getting himself a little bit of a cushion at this stage of about 1 second.
Yeah, just 1 second. That 1 second can be very, very easy to lose or gain, especially in the final 7.5 minutes of this race.
Yeah, it's for a racing driver, of course, time gets a whole different meaning. Like
Yes.
1 second feels like an eternity. Like I think about 1 second, and it feels like somewhat of a long time when I put it in my mind. In my brain, it feels like a bit of a long time, even though 1 second is incredibly short. It's crazy how that works, even when you have been long gone from active racing yourself, when you're just talking over other people doing some racing and trying to make a little bit of sense out of that one. Meanwhile, Nicholas Borbadnik, excuse me, in the number 64 car, finding himself on the 10th place in the GT3 class, and indeed the final points paying position in that one. So he is trying to catch up to Christian Riva. As a result of those problems we saw earlier on the screen, that means that, well, he is no longer having to overtake the car in front to get into that battle. As we see David Schund making a little bit of contact. They were 3 wide in the P3 class heading into turn number 1. Guys, you don't necessarily want to do that every lap. So it's Danilos Meriglia and David Jund fighting for P number 6 in that class. And they will keep on fighting, I guess. Not much else you can really say about that.
Fighting, yes. As the speed and live car, Paco Torres pitting in the LP3 field with just a few minutes to go.
Ooh, not the most opportune of times necessarily.
No. No, not particularly.
So we are actually seeing a couple of LMP3 cars in the pit lane. Well, one LMP3 car, the number 18 as you mentioned, and a couple of GT3s in the pit lane as well, the 67, the 78 and the 57. I believe due to accident-related reasons. Still in the lead we have Lorenzo Arisi with Felix Antoine Fortin in the 2nd place and Nick Da Silva rounding out your top 3. Not too many minutes to go. It's starting to get really exciting. Can they hold on in the lead? Can Erde Maciol, after their terrible disappointment in Sepang, can they bring back Caspian Motorsport into the top form, into the top flight, and get their names back in the mix of potential championship battles? What can Wave 3 Esports do? Lorenzo Arisi, what a wonderful race they've had in the top end of the GT3 field. And how will these battles that have raged on for such a long time, how will they turn out? Only one way to find out, ladies and gentlemen. We got 4 minutes left in this race, so don't go anywhere. And Neil, this is always the time when you start to just, as a driver, you maybe start to just look at those things a little bit more conservatively, especially if you're no longer in a battle. You start to look at the track a bit of a different way. You start to see hazards where you previously saw opportunities, to put it that way.
Yes, just looking for those opportunities. And if you're in a little bit of a gap, you don't drive at 100% anymore.
No, you don't.
You drive perhaps just 90 at this point, just saying to bring home the car.
Yeah, and you actually very rarely drive at 100% anyway. Now, okay, but it must be said that to drive at 100% and drive as fast as you can are 2 different things. Especially, you will find that out in endurance racing. 100% is your maximum pace that you can keep up, your maximum achievable consistent pace. Driving as fast as you can is basically qualifying. And
Yes.
driving as fast as you can doesn't work in a multi-class environment. Trust me, many have tried, few have succeeded. So, Christian Plessen was earlier on the screens. Now we see Niklas Borbadnik as well in that battle against Christian Riva for the P number 9 and GT3 class as well. So, a lot of good battles going on. We'll just have to keep you up to date with those ones to the best of our ability. Certainly, what is interesting is that Paolo Taddeolini has lost a lot of time to Nick Da Silva right now. Well, I say a lot of time, 2 seconds, but he is very much under attack by the Go Team Racing and Christian Pallesen for the P number 4 indeed. with the GD3 class rather. So the P not only have they lost the third place right at the end of the race, they are now also at the risk of losing the fourth place as well.
Yeah, the risk of losing all of these places, and that's certainly not what you want at the very, very end of a race. You want the final couple of laps of a race to be relaxing. You don't want it to be exhilarating, really, do you?
No, you don't.
Leave that to the middle bit and the start bit, not the end.
Yeah, at the end of the race, because you think of all these possibilities. Christian Balesen right now, he wants to make that move. He is again counting down the chances. He knows that there is, 1.5 minutes left in the clock, potentially 1 lap. That's it. And he will not have many opportunities to make that move. And he is thinking, oh, he cracked under pressure. Paolo Tagliolini absolutely cracked under pressure right there, going out of the bit curve. That fast right-hander, difficult right-hander, heading into the straight before the final chicane, and he cracked under the pressure, had a half spin for himself. And not only did he lose that 4th place, he also lost the 5th place to Andy Dixie. So going from P number 3 to P number 6 in the final 10 minutes, that's an absolute heartbreak. That's a disaster,
Yeah,
mate.
it certainly is. Certainly is in the final few minutes.
And you really, I mean, you have to feel for the driver. Sure, it's a racing thing. You have a half spin. He will be absolutely gutted more than anyone, not only for himself, but also for his team, his teammates, everyone who has worked so hard to make that possible, who were cheering for the podium. Every battle has a winner and a loser, but you have to be gutted for him, because that will haunt him for a little bit, especially as those points are so crucial come to the end of the season. But we are right now looking at the overall leader, Erdem Akiol, and the Caspian Motorsport number 39
he should
car.
be able to do 1 more lap.
Yeah, see if he
He's
breaks a
across the
little
line with
bit.
about 8 seconds to go or so, I think, and his lead is only 8 seconds, so I wouldn't risk it.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. He's doing 1 more lap. So,
Do 1 more lap.
and that means, of course, we have still 1 more lap for him left. And, well, what can you say? They were running P2 for such a long time, running such wonderful lap times. Oh, following Ruben Correa Alves going into the final chicane, not being able to get the move done. That is for the final points paying position, of course.
Yes.
So there is still implications here as well. Scuderia Leone versus the Speedy Might Racing versus the Scuderia Leone.
Yes, but as you were saying, Erdem Akiol in that number 39 Caspian Motorsport car did a fantastic job, especially after the pit stop phase, just putting in incredibly fast, incredibly consistent lap times.
Yeah, and Ruben Correa Alves sticking that move against Jelle Binsbergen and actually being able to get through into turn number 1 of the final lap. And getting that move done and snatching that 1 point away right at the end of it. But I think we should move the cameras right now to the leader. Indeed, here he is, right on cue, Erdem Akiol. Neil, what can you say? You were about to say something, go on.
Yeah, an absolutely incredible race, especially in that second stint after the pit stop phase.
Oh yeah, I mean, that second stint, just magic. Not only the pace, but how he caught those guys up, how he managed to, eat up Luca Di Emilio like he was just breakfast after a long, well-slept night. Just ate it up. Go ahead, put some bacon, put some egg on it, sunny side up, and here we go. Sun is shining on the Caspian Sea. It's certainly shining for Caspian Motorsport. Erdem Akiol bringing out the win at VLMC, 2 hours of Nurburgring, and what a performance for him. And it is Luca Di Amelio in the second place. Not a bad drive for the Team Rookie Monsters driver, but just couldn't match the pace tonight. And we are now looking at Luca Burke as well in P number 3 of the LMP3 class. An excellent performance for the Speedy Might Racing driver as well. Not quite matching the pace of the drivers in front of him, but certainly doing very well. Lorenzo Arisi crossing the finish line in the GT3 class. He is taking a victory away from Esports. Felix Antoine Fortin in the second place with a Chansho car. And in the third place. We saw already Luca Berg coming into the across the finish line in the P3 class. Nick Da Silva snatching P3 away in the dying moments from Paolo Taglioni from Busters E-Racing. It will be an excellent result for Speedy Might Racing, and Nick Da Silva celebrating wildly. You can see just how much it means to him at this point in time. But wow, what a race we saw. An excellent race, a mostly clean race. We had a couple of minor contacts, couple of minor issues, but mostly we saw that Nurburgring can, against all odds, provide some excellent multi-class racing. No, honestly, I had to say it. Someone had to.
Yes. Yeah, some absolutely incredible racing. Very well done to, of course, the winners and the podium finishers and those who finished the race. But yes, some absolutely incredible racing today, especially in that midfield GT battle. Like, well, you always find amazing battles in the midfield of the GTs. It doesn't matter how long the race is. It doesn't matter what track it is at.
Yeah, it feels like if there's one constant in the world of endurance racing, it is absolutely amazing GT battles. We touched that briefly earlier on in this race, but we are going on. We are going on about it because that was a great battle all throughout the race between many drivers. For me, the absolute highlight of the race, that battle between Mehmet Özkurbeyrak and Caspian Motorsport and Mikolai Malichki and Secora Racing. In the end, Mehmet ended up pulling that one off, finishing in P number 7 of his class, ahead of Mikolai Malichki in P number 8. But those guys had an absolute war going on in there, you know, fighting all throughout the race. In the end, battling a lap side by side, and then Beyrak finally able to make that move. And you can imagine the entire Caspian Motorsport cheering also for him, not only for Erdem Makiola and his overall victory, but also for Mehmet for making that single move and seeing how much it meant to him. That was the absolute highlight of the race for me. How about you, Neil? What was your highlight of the race, couple of memorable points in this race, or are there too many to list?
Yeah, it is a part of too many. I think for me, probably the highlight of the race is just watching that second half of the race from Erdem Akio on the Caspian Motorsports car, and also of course, the GT battles that we always get here in the VLMC and indeed in sim racing overall.
Yeah, so with that said, I think we should quickly run through the final results, and then all good things must come to an end. So will this race, and so will indeed this podcast. So Neil, will you do the honors for the LMP3 class, and then I shall follow on with the GT3.
Yes, in LMP3, it's Erdem Akio and that number 39 Team Caspian Motorsport car taking the win. Second place is Luca D'Amelio and Team Ricky Munsters. Third is Luca Berg and Speedy Might Racing. Fourth is Timothy Adanovsky. Second car, and in fifth place is Alessandro Specchio and Drive Game Seat Racing.
Yes, and in the GT3 class, it was car number 87, Lorenzo Arisi and Wave Freem Esports, taking the honors of the class victory ahead of Felix Antoine Fortin and the Chanso car. That was number 62. Number 83, Nick Da Silva in the Speedy Might Racing car, finishing in P number 3. Number 97, Christian Palesen and the Go Team Racing in P number 4. And rounding out the top 5 is number 84, Andy Dixie in the other Speedy Might Racing entry. So that is your final running order, and I believe, Neil, it is also time for us to say goodbye. Time to say goodbye. Conte Partelo.
It's time. It's time for us to say goodbye here from the Nurburgring. In 4 weeks' time, we'll be bringing you the 2 hours of Imola. But from Bernd Schmidt, Sean Jacobs, Ossian Puka, and myself, Neil Hitley, thank you for joining us. And so long, farewell, and we'll see each other on the other side.
Bye-bye.